Yep.
Okay. All right. So good morning to our YouTube viewers. Great to have you all.
We're not there. Oh, we are.
We are.
Okay, great. We're there. Good morning to our YouTube viewers.
Yeah, we got to say hi to YouTube first.
Okay, I can put this thing down.
It's already down. Just...
Okay. Let me.
You push it up.
I don't want to push it up yet because. Oh, wait. Okay, we're going live now. Studio.
98.1. Business Express and Smooth 98.1. Brought to you by ARM. Local and global market opportunities safely at your fingertips.
Love music, love life. This is Smooth 98.1. You are listening into Smooth Breakfast, and we have Business Express, which means we've got Rotus in the studio. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Sope. Good morning to all our listeners, YouTube viewers. Good to be with you all.
Yes. And joining us for this morning's show, which you can catch up on youtube.com/smooth981fm. We have got Kayode Ajilore of ARM Securities. Good morning, Kayode.
Good morning.
Right, good morning. Wonderful to have you on. All right, so we have got quite a lot to speak about for the next 15 minutes. So, Rotus, why don't you take it away?
Yes, so Kayode Ajilore is a consumer goods analyst with ARM Securities. So we'll be delving into the consumer goods market today. So for the sake of our listeners, our viewers, what is the consumer goods sector?
Yeah, thank you, Rotus. I mean, basically, when we speak to the consumer goods sector, we speak to a sector that actually deals in those items that consumers use essentially, and of course, those discretionary items too. Speaking of essential items, are those very important items that we use in our daily lives. Speaking of what we use in our kitchen, what we use home care, what we use, I mean, when we gather together to probably have some level of socialization, those items in general, right, that actually culminates in helping us manage our daily lives. I mean, those are items that you can call consumer goods items. Of course, it's actually under the Nigerian economy, there's a way it is classified under the manufacturing sector, and that is basically looking at it broadly. I mean, under that classification, you will see it as food, beverages, and tobacco in this case. But basically, any item that we use as a consumer to make our daily life easy is actually a consumer goods item.
Well, now we know. Okay.
Exactly. What impacts consumer goods? Is it inflation? Is that the big item that impacts them?
I mean, when we speak to the consumer goods sector, I mean, basically, owing to the fact that it is something that we have to deal with in our daily lives, basically, we can talk from two angles. I mean, if we talk about inflation alone, that means probably we're just looking at it from a particular angle alone. Right, in this case, because of course, when you want to consider this, you want to consider your wallet. On one hand, I mean, it could be two ways anyways. You want to consider your wallet. I mean, that is the amount of income you get. And of course, you want to consider the price. And in some cases, right, the price will lead to such that you can't necessarily dip your hand into your wallet because you know you won't be able to get something satisfactory enough. And that can take us to a lot of conversation. But for the purpose of this show this morning, well, we are basically going to be touching on the demand and supply side, but succinctly. I mean, on the demand side now, you're looking at it like, can I purchase this? Is it affordable for me? Which is mostly about price. And then, of course, it could be about income. And when you look at these two together, when you say what affects it the most, I can't rightly place my hand on one. But one thing I can be so sure of is that the price determines to an extent. And then, of course, the income does its bit too. And this actually makes more sense when we look at it in the context of the Nigerian economy and how our items are constituted, especially in the inflation basket. When I speak to inflation basket now, is a basket where goods are put together to determine the direction of price. So basically, in our case, right, it could be inflation, it could be income. But if it's going to be inflation, what are those things that probably we have seen as the anchor upon which inflation concerns are built over the years, right? One is perhaps the infrastructure, where people produce things in somewhere like Maiduguri, and they had to incur in excess of 800,000 to move those items from Maiduguri to Lagos. The route to market, so to put, is not that free and seamless. So that's a problem. And then, of course, we still import some part of our consumables here. And when exchange rate issues are viewed, like they did owing to the issue of coronavirus recently, that was also the case between 2015 and 2017. What we find is that because we have to import these items, sellers or suppliers, so to put, have to find a way to share the burden of additional costs incurred as a result of exchange rate devaluation or adjustment, as a result of those economic issues, right? Say oil issues in 2015, 2017, say coronavirus in 2020, early 2020 till now that we're still grappling with. So basically, they have to transfer the burden of that cost. And when they do, basically, price rises, and of course, it affects us. It affects us consumers, it affects our daily life. And that's why you will see some items that probably were selling for 120 naira at some point in the past, now sells for, say, 150 naira. So the point is, it's actually a double whammy. You can look at it as store, price can. You can look at it as store also. Income is also another consideration.
All right.
All right, do remember you can send your questions and your messages into 0809 444 981.
I remember I hadn't bought a wallet since 2009 or 2010. And I decided my wallet finally fell to pieces. I went to go buy one. And when I saw the prices, I had to look at my pockets, which is what technically my wallet is. So it's very interesting, price income. Thank you for that description. What about consumer goods stocks?
When we're talking about these prices, what about the stocks? Like, are they affected? I mean, is it for someone who's spending so much money on all these consumer goods, what about spending money on the stocks? Is that a good idea?
No, basically, that is why ordinarily, right? Most of us will see consumer goods stocks as a defensive stock. I mean, those kind of stocks that can help you with the effect of a lot of economic, macroeconomic issues when there is any. And basically, in this case, right, when you say, can I spend my money on stocks? First off, we need to live. When there is life, like they say, there is hope. And then for you that you are not alive, you can basically just say, maybe you are investing for some dependent anyways. But first thing is, the reason why a lot of people actually think it is a fault, I mean, fault in the sense of a very resilient sector, is because it is something that we have to deal with every day. So basically, even when there's macroeconomic concerns, I mean, headwind in this case, or when there are a lot of other issues pertaining to, like we had last in 2020, where we had issues of supply chain disruption, regardless, the consumer goods stocks are still supposed to make sales. We still have to live. It is intertwined with our daily lives. So basically, let me catch your question very well, and that would be like, why are we spending on consumables alone? Why are we not spending on stock? I mean, basically, it's more about how much we have left in the disposable income, what our living cost is, and of course, what we have left after we must have consumed, right? And then in this case, it is not that heavy on our side here, especially in emerging markets, but the fact still remains that saving and investing culture is something that we should try as much as possible to encourage. Because at the end of the day, anyways, if you ask me, are consumer goods stocks they are such that we can invest in? I would say yes. But of course, that's why you now need to talk to your advisor, basically, so that we can give you the best options available. Because at the end of the day, right, Rotus, and our listeners, at the end of the day, what is quite important is that you don't just invest, right? You invest in stocks that can help you optimize your wealth. really. But of course, if you ask me, I would insist that consumer goods still has decent tickets that you can go into, but you need to speak to your advisor regardless, because we have peculiar circumstances for each and every investor. And then it is best that we examine or perhaps evaluate your own particular circumstance and, of course, advise you accordingly. That's why we are here.
Exactly. That's why ARM is one of those advisors. All right, good stuff. Boa Foods, what did you make of the Boa Foods listing last week?
I mean, it's a move in the right direction. Basically, if you ask me, I think one thing that we have often complained about is the lack of option. I mean, let's say inadequacy of option, permit me to put it that way, in the capital market. And of course, when we get a new listing and not a forced listing, right? Because of course we have not had that case because NSC has been on their game for quite a while, and what we have are firms that have really meets the requirements coming to list. And in the case of Boa Foods, it is no exception. What we have seen is that a firm that has proven itself in some other sector is coming in to tell us, yeah, we are coming into the food sector and we want you to continue to be able to evaluate us, which is the essence of listing on one hand. And then, of course, we want to have access to your capital, which is also the other essence of listing, if you ask me. So basically, we have a primary player in the cement sector, as we have seen with Boa Cement, coming in to say, yes, we have Boa Foods and we want you to see it. We want to, as a matter of fact, also compete with existing players within the space. When there are more options in the market, it can only mean good for Nigeria. And like we know, we have issues, right, with local production over time, where our local production level is not enough as it is to absorb the level of demand that's coming from the economy locally. So basically, as many players as we find in the space that are willing to put in the work, like we have seen the ownership of Boa done over time. I mean, especially when you look at the petrochemical refinery out there in Akwa Ibom, and then of course you see the way they have been running their cement facility, especially after the merger between Boa and CCNN earlier in 2020 or 2019 thereabout. So basically, the point is we have a new player on the block. We have a player who is ready to invest, and then of course scale. I mean, it's an add-on for the economy. There's no doubt about that.
All right, we've got a couple of minutes left to the show. I got a message in from Benito who says, I have a question. Please enlighten me on this. Can a commodity exchange be used to mitigate against inflation of goods? Does Nigeria have a commodity exchange currently?
Yeah, I mean, what is quite important is that you ask like you have done, and then of course we have a commodity exchange, which is very active also, without doubt. So basically, I mean, I can lay my hand on one as I speak, but of course, like you ask, the concern is, can we use it to mitigate against inflation, right? Any platform, right, upon which you have the option, right, of investing and of course getting returns. And it's regulated by the NS because we have a lot of concern out there where we have investment platforms just emerging from almost nowhere, and then of course absorbing with investors fund. But the concern, is in as much as that exchange is regulated, right, by the regulatory authorities here in Nigeria. And then, of course, you can lay your hands, right, on a lot of other factors, speaking to the antecedent of the people who are running the business, and a lot of factors like that. Of course, you can trade with them. But as much as possible, right, what is key is you can use commodities exchange to hedge against inflation. Just talk to someone who can put you through on how it should go. The work of an advisor is something that is very important. You must always find a way to get it there.
Great stuff. And of course, a reminder to our viewers, ARM Stock Trade, which is of course the app that you can use to purchase stocks through the ARM platform. I have to remind you, of course, ARM of course has a number of advisors that can guide you through the market and make the best decision. Kayode, Ajilore, consumer goods analyst with ARM Securities. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rotus, and thank you to every member of the team too. See you some other time.
All right, then. Thank you so much. That's been quite an interesting 15 minutes. All right. So coming up, we've got great music here on your smooth 98.1 Love Music, Love Life station. Stick with us.
On Smooth 98.1.